Welcome back on the AM show. And as we go along, I need to remind you that water is, in fact, life. Awake is premium purified water treated through a strict purification process to ensure that every bottle on the market refreshes you better. And guess what? We have the perfect sizes for all of you, 330 and 500 ml, 700 ml or 750 ml for the heavy drinkers, 1.5 liters for those who always want more. But it gets even better. Our 19-liter jar bottles are ideal for homes and offices. So all you must now do is drink Awake purified drinking water wherever you go. Choose a bottle of Awake purified drinking water today and get quality hydration. Awake purified drinking water, one for life. And this is the part that excites me the most. For every bottle you buy of Awake drinking water, an amount is donated to the National Cardiothoracic Center. It's a product of Casapreco Company Limited. If you want to purchase in bulk, just call this number 0262 351 251. And do remember, this advert is FDA approved. Now, as we kickstart our big stories, even before we go out into town for Citizens Microphone, there's that crucial issue we're going to be contemplating, and it has to do with the ban on second-hand goods. Now, GUTA has put in a petition to Parliament to dig into this matter. They also make the statement that it is going to affect unemployment. In fact, it is going to increase unemployment. Well, joining us for a conversation, we have Dr. Joseph Obeng. He is president of the Ghana Union of Traders Association. We have Hubert Nsozan, assistant manager, energy efficiency regulation with the Energy Commission Ghana. Of course, some of those products affected, and Samson Asaki Awengobit, executive secretary, the Importers and the Exporters Association of Ghana. Gentlemen, a very good morning to you. I believe I've seen the GUTA president, Dr. Obeng, with us. Dr. Obeng, a very good morning to you. Hubert Zan, good morning to you.
Good morning, sir.
I believe that is Dr. Obeng, right?
Right. Yes, sir.
Okay, Hubert, it's good to see you.
Yes, good morning.
It's good to see you. It's been a while. It's really good to see you on the other side doing very well.
Yes, thank you very much, and good morning to your viewers as well.
Great.
And good morning to Dr. Obeng.
Right. Gentlemen, let's start the conversation from what has happened within the last few days. So we've been told that products of a certain category, which have been used for a certain number of years, 10 years and others, will not be possible to be imported into the country. I'll start with you, Dr. Obeng. What is your quick reaction to that, especially in light of what we are facing? Climate change, chlorofluorocarbons, so many dynamics that we are trying to deal with. And the point is that usually these countries in the West and others dump their products here, and we suffer the consequences. What is the stance of GUTA on this?
Yeah, thank you very much. In fact, we are on the same with the Energy Commission and the generality of Ghanaians at large.
Right.
That we are not to bring in substandard goods into this country. It is not for the good health of the country, and also for energy requirements, energy efficiency. It is also not good even for the cost that we all know that we are incurring to ensure that we safeguard our energy requirements in this country. So we are on the same length, and we met with Energy Commission on this issue, and they took their time to explain the issues to us, that we are not to allow these substandard goods that works against the efficiency of energy in this country, and that goods that are of hazardous to the environment, as you rightly said. And so these substandard goods are not limited to used goods, and that it is also captures goods that are new. So the standards that is going to be applied does not only apply to the so-called used product, but for new goods also. So we had the clear understanding that Ghana standards Ghana Energy Commission are going to use science, that is standards and regulations, to decipher what is to be allowed for use and what is not to be allowed to come for use. And so this principle is established. But the fact that goods that are slightly used, or even the use is not even defined, as in age or what, is retrofitting of these products allowed or not? Are we talking about technological changes? For instance, when first we used to bring CRT electronics, that's the TV sets, this time we do not bring, and that one is banned because it is not in use. It is out of modernity. We are talking about incandescent bulb. Nobody bring it. No electrical dealer will bring incandescent bulb because we have migrated from incandescent to LED now. So once we have migrated to LED, it is of no use for even the trader to even bring this product. And so that's why we are saying that we agree with Energy Commission to use these technological changes to determine what is to come in, but to say that goods that are slightly used are not to be allowed is not what is to be accepted by the trading community. Because in that case, standards are not discriminatory. If you are using standards, because somebody might buy a very good product, having used for about 2 weeks, 3 weeks, that doesn't make it out of use or what. And if you look at all the developing countries, mostly all the developing countries, there's no precedent anywhere that goods that are used by a previous user cannot be used by another. We haven't seen
regardless of the shape in which they are, regardless of the state in which they are?
No, that's why I've said that we are not talking about what is not to be allowed to come in. I hope that one is established, because you are talking about ozone layer and all that. So if you are bringing a brand new item and it requires that you do not put in a gas that is not accepted by the Energy Commission, then when you bring a brand new and it contains those hazardous elements in that new product, it's not to be allowed. The same thing applies to old appliances, which does not conform to the standard that is set by the Energy Commission. I hope you understand.
Right.
Because are you saying that if somebody is staying in UK and he bought something like Philips TV set or electrical appliance, having used it for 6 months or 1 year, it is used? Does that mean that when the person is relocating to Ghana, he cannot bring those goods? No, I don't think that's what we are talking about. And we are also talking about something, mostly a product will be a case that contains components. The components are the ones that goes with the requirement. And so if a case of electrical product contains a retrofitted brand new items that conforms to standard, do you say that because the case has been used and that the old components in it have been replaced with the new ones, is not to be allowed? These are the things that we say that we have to dissect so that we will serve the good people better. Because you should also be reminded that the consumer is part of this. This stakeholder engagement should also include the consumer, who will say that now most of them use prepaid meters and that they will never go and buy something that will consume energy unnecessarily. And that when he buys a thing brand new, maybe from China, somewhere Asia, and the thing, that product is causing problems for him in terms of energy and the prepaid that he has to buy, and he buys an old product, maybe from Philips, Siemens, or otherwise, other products that are well branded, but used, and that is also served with better energy usage.
Right.
Are you saying that because something is new and it's not serving the person, it should compulsorily be used because it's new? In that case, we are not using science. And so what that we are saying is that we have to use science to decipher what is to come in and what is not to come in. But there are items that are completely obsolete and that should not be allowed to come, like the CRT TVs that used to come, the Tikopo TVs. Nobody should be able to bring it because it's rubbish. And then the incandescent bulb that I was talking about, who is going to bring these onion bulbs, the heat that it generates, the energy consumption that it demands, it's not even to be entertained. So when we are fine to see a product with a very hazardous effect or that do not conform to standards, then of course, if you say that we are banning it, then we are banning it not because it's used, but we are banning it because it does not conform with standards, whether new or old. And
all right,
that has been our argument.
Hold it there for me. Let me bring in Hubert, and later I'll come to you, Doc, on what exactly the bone of contention is. But Dr. Obeng talks about retrofitting. He speaks about, look, they're not even bringing in some forbidden items like incandescent lamps or lights, and the Tikopo, as we call it, the old school televisions are no longer in the system. No one brings those. So what exactly is the Energy Commission? What are you trying to achieve? What are you targeting, and what are you trying to achieve in sanitizing the system? Let's start from there.
All right. So thank you very much. And I think rightly said, the wind has been taken out of my sail by Dr. Obeng. Basically, what the Energy Commission has been consistently saying is that we have come up with minimum energy performance standards for electrical appliances. For a very long time, this space has not been regulated. And we realize that people are bringing in very used, obsolete appliances. In addition to that, they are bringing brand new appliances, which are substandard. And the only way to be able to establish this is to regulate that space. And once you do that, what is the tool that you use? We are using standards and labeling. And standards and labeling is an international best practice tool, which sets minimum performance for these appliances that are coming into the market. So as he rightly said, probably the awareness is not getting so down to the dealers to appreciate the information. A lot of them have said that their used products are even durable than the brand new products that are coming into the country. How do we establish this as an Energy Commission? We play the role of a referee. And so the only way to establish that is to come up with minimum energy performance standards. And that is what we have done by working closely with the Ghana Standards Authority to adapt international standards. Now, what the law is saying is that anyone who is bringing a product into the country, be it used, be it new, be it retrofitted, whichever you want to describe it, the law is saying that you need to submit a performance test report. Now, what is this performance test report supposed to do? It is supposed to tell us the efficiency of your product. And it's based on that the Energy Commission will give you approval. However, if you look closely at the regulation, which I think a lot of people have not gotten the opportunity to even read it, the law is very clear on what it is. It doesn't state used or new. It says that products that are coming into the market will have to meet a certain minimum performance standards. On the other hand, products that do not meet the minimum performance standards are prohibited. And so when we hear the second-hand dealers up in arms and moving around, are they confirming the fact that their used products are substandard or they do not meet the standards? If they do not conform to that, then probably, obviously, they are not allowed into the country. But if they think their used products will meet the minimum performance standards, all they have to do is to submit the technical documentation of these products. And that has been the consistent position of Energy Commission. We are very clear on what we are doing, and we don't even want to divert the discussions to used or new. It is about minimum energy performance standards of appliances entering into the market.
All right, just hold it there. So I've heard you say a number of things talking about new products that could still be substandard and old products that, of course, are obsolete, are no longer useful or workable. But when you listen to Dr. Obeng, he makes mention of the fact that some of these items have been brought in and they have conformed to the standards. I'd like to find out from you, when you talk about those substandard items, which ones specifically or which ones predominantly are brought into the system that are of a concern?
Right. So when any appliance is manufactured, it's manufactured according to international standards or quality.
Right.
And so Energy Commission is focusing on the energy efficiency, whereas the Ghana Standards Authority is concentrating on the quality or conformity of these products. There are international standards, IEC and ISO standards, that the Ghana Standards Authority has adopted. The Energy Commission, through Parliament, has come up with regulations to set the criteria in terms of responsibility of importers, responsibility of the regulator, responsibility of even the media in terms of advertisement of these products. And so what the regulation just seeks to do is to guide and set the guidelines of what our responsibilities are, and also, most importantly, to transform the market and protect the consumer. In a very long time, we have had issues of fire outbreaks that are connected to electrical appliances. How do we establish this? And so questions are being asked. Who are those bringing these products into the market? So Parliament has empowered the Energy Commission to be able to regulate this space, to hold importers responsible for the products they are bringing into the country. And so if a consumer reports a brand, for example, the Energy Commission should be able to tell Ghanaians who brought this brand into the market, who is the dealer of this brand, who do we hold responsible if there are any substandard issues related to the product. And so before you do this, you just need what we call a performance test report from an accredited laboratory. So all we are saying is that the Energy Commission is thinking very closely that we want to protect or serve as a referee between the importer and the manufacturer. Remember that the importer is someone who has his capital. He doesn't have the technical know-how in terms of what to get from the manufacturer. And so when you bring the documentation, the Energy Commission will advise you that these products you intend to bring into the country are durable, they will meet the standards. On the other hand, if they do not meet the standards, we will advise the importer before the items come into the country.
Right. So
now,
it's important that point is made just before you go on. So prior to even bringing the items, so there will be no issue of incurring losses, because if you go through the system, even prior to importing it, will tell you that this you cannot bring into the system.
Exactly. So you see that the Energy Commission is very concerned about what our people or Ghanaians are purchasing from outside the country. And not to be very biased, but look, the goods coming from China are the same people who are manufacturing for the European market, except that goods going into the European market have to meet a certain standards. And that is the difference.
Okay.
But you know, when the traders go out there without any standards, then any kind of goods are hovering around to find their way into the African market. And that is exactly what we are trying to protect.
And we're all trying to...
Most importantly, we are protecting the importer from the consumer. Somebody who has saved enough to be able to buy an appliance should get value for money. He should be able to get the value for his money in terms of the product he's buying. And not because somebody wants to make profit, he goes to bring in obsolete appliances, whether tested or untested, and then they find themselves in the market and selling to consumers who bear the chunk of the bills in terms of electricity consumption. And also, Doc rightly mentioned the environmental implication. So I think Energy Commission and GUTA are on the same page.
All right.
The issue is about the used second-hand dealers who fall under GUTA, which I think we should be educating this group that we know this is about livelihood, but you also have to be very cautious and responsible for the kind of appliances you are bringing into the country.
All right.
So if you say your goods are durable, provide the technical documentation before you import them into the country.
And I guess that is the sticking point. I'll be getting to that shortly. But hold for me, Doc, hold for me, Hubert. Let me bring in Samson Asaki Awingobit. He's the Executive Secretary of the Importers and Exporters Association. Samson, a very good morning to you. Mr. Awingobit? Hello, sir.
Can you hear me?
I can hear you now. There's a bit of a buzz.
Your viewers.
Right. There's a bit of a buzz in the connection, but I can hear you. What do you make of this entire move by the Energy Commission? And how is it going to reflect on your importers, for example? How is that going to impact your importers? Is it going to be negative or positive? Do you agree with this new move?
Well, I don't know if you can hear me loud and clear now. Can you hear me?
I can hear you, sir. Please go ahead.
Good. Good morning. And then I think you have Dr. Obe on the other line or so, and then the gentleman who spoke from the Energy Commission.
Hubert Zan. Hubert is his
all
name.
your listeners. First and foremost, I want to put on record that the Energy Commission engagement prior to the so-called implementation of their 51 line item that they want to implement.
Samson, the connection is all of a sudden is not so clear again. I don't know whether you could reposition yourself and try.
Can you hear me?
I can hear you. It's just a little bit, but you go ahead. Just speak up a little for me, please.
Yes. So I'm saying that I want to put on record that the Importers and Exporters Association of Ghana was not consulted or engaged by the Energy Commission when they decided to put a ban or regulate some selected items that they deem it not permitted to come into the country. And I think at the point we're told that they said they have engaged stakeholders. But for the Importers and Exporters Association, so far as I'm concerned, there was no any engagement between my outfit and the Energy Commission. That's what I want to put on record.
All right, so there was no involvement as far as your outfit is concerned, no engagement, and that is a problem for you, right?
Yes, there was no engagement, yes, absolutely.
Okay.
Two, I heard the gentleman briefly, I think maybe I met when they called me in the middle of when he was speaking to you. I want to put on record that if he thinks that these days you have outbreak of fires and people buy certain items, electrical items that get it as substandard, what is Energy Commission doing about the border areas that are coming here? Because mind you, nobody buy electrical cables on the used ones. Many of us, including your good self. But point is, you go to this Nigerian shop owners here, you buy a bulb, you come and put 2-3 days, it goes away. What work, what regulation does Energy Commission do to those people? They know those who bring it. Those who bring those kind of substandard materials, especially electrical wire and other things, are not coming through the port. Many of those who come through the port bring quality cables, quality electrical use items. Banning electrical and electronic use will not solve the issue that he's talking about. I think Energy Commission has to do likely about lack of monitoring, lack of market surveillance in their office there. Their eyes are only in the port. But what happens in the market? You don't see Energy Commission setting up market surveillance team to go around and inspect or do stop tests there. You can go around and do a random test to be able to ascertain quality cables and substandard cables. Only at the port. Now, those who come through the port, we cannot say you cannot bring used items. What we can say, if they have engaged us, we would have advised. Now, look, you can take maybe a team. outside wherever these importations are coming from. If you want to bring importations, you go through those people to test confirm, or they get the laboratory, certified laboratory analysis narrative. Then they allow you to come. Especially, you cannot say all used items are dead. No. Some are fairly used, 6 months, 1 year. Can continue to be used. Even all well-developed countries still trade in used items. Why Ghana? We don't have any electrical or electronic companies in Ghana here, Samsung and the like, manufacturing things that they are buying now. Again, household consumers, Ghanaian consumers, purchasing power. In this country, there's no any shop, and let me point it to me, that if you go to this shop, you can just walk there as someone who is working with maybe Ghana Education Service, or someone who's working with Ghana Police Service, or someone who's working with the Health Service, can walk to an electronic shop, and so I need a 42-inch television. This is my payslip, take it, and then I'll be paying for my medicine. High ticket. In this country, you have to, when you want a TV, when you want a car, anything you want, you have to cost the money in bulk and go and pay. So you sort of pretend like we are in Europe when we are not in Europe. In Europe, no one casts 1 million Ghana cedis to go and buy a car or a house. You won't. No one counts 40,000 to go and rent a house or a room. You won't. You do it month by month. This is accepted. We call it high application. Do you have a company like that that can sell out brand new so that ordinary worker, ordinary messenger, ordinary cleaner at the ministry would be able to go to any electrical shop? And so I built my house in this, I need electrical wires. Dr. Ben trades in Texas wire in other countries wire, very quality one. Can that person walk to Dr. Ben's company and say, this is I'm buying it on credit, I'll be paying from my payslip? You won't. You have to pay cash. So I can tell you, we cannot just say we are banning all used items. When those who are waste, we will leave it there. Those who can still have lifetime to spend before it die off. That is why every importer of electrical and electronics products, and I'm sure you have Dr. Obe on the other line, isn't it? Hello?
Yes, Samson.
Good. That is why Ghana set up the eco-levy. The eco-levy was to support, so by the time that electrical lifespan comes to an end, when you are bringing it through the port, you pay, when you are clearing the duty, you pay what we call the eco-levy, the eco-fee to Ministry of Energy. Ministry of Energy has an agency under them, who is the implementer. They collect the fee. So that at the end of the day, when the lifespan comes to an end, we have a safe way of disposing it of. That's why every importer in this, including those who bring in tires and other things, they pay money. So that at the end of the day, when the lifespan of that electronic gadget comes to an end, someone comes to buy from your house, pick it to a place that will do a safe disposal. And so it is not just like we wake up and we ban, you haven't engaged anybody, you just say you have engaged one institution, and that is it. I don't think that's why the fight is back. So
okay, so just to clarify, your group, the importers and exporters, are you also going to fight this legislation?
Why not?
You're going to fight it?
I just explained to you that if they had engaged, we would have told them what to do with steps. I mean, knowledge does not sit in one person. You in the agency, that doesn't mean that the people who are trading have no knowledge as to what you want to do to help them or to help streamline things in the country. No. We have people who also study. Maybe if his problem is mistaken, if you take Dr. Abel like this, you can educate the man speaking from Energy Commission, as to what is thermal quality and what does not thermal quality. Because he has been in the industry for a very long time, he became an institution on the. He doesn't work in Energy Commission, doesn't mean that he doesn't understand the technicalities that they are looking for. That's why I said, Is he telling me, and I'm putting this question to the gentleman from Energy Commission, that used items have no use in this world again? Even if you go to Almighty America, people also buy used items. Some used items, it is only here because of lack of poverty narrative. You buy one television or you buy a sofa set, you want to use it till 20 years until it's torn before you say we are throwing this away. In the other jurisdiction, people change their wardrobe every 6 months.
Okay,
every 1 year.
so Samson, just hold for me. I get the points that you're making. First of all, there was no engagement with you, the importers and exporters, and that, of course, creates problems. You couldn't voice out some of these matters that you are bringing to the fore. And you've also said that the Energy Commission, among other institutions, they are fixated on the ports, but where they should be going is the market or at the markets. But let me come back to, just hold for me. Let me bring in Dr. Obeng one more time. When Hubert was speaking, he made mention of the fact that your used second-hand dealers are, that's really where the focal issue is, the problem is. And we just have to streamline these matters. What is the real problem when it comes to the second-hand items you bring into the country? Why are you not willing to go through these processes? And maybe you could add, why do you feel it is going to create unemployment? Hello, Dr. Obeng.
Hello, can
Yes,
you hear me?
I can hear you. Go ahead.
Yeah, I think that's communicating somewhere. And that my members thought that these things are banned and gazetted. But if you listen to ZAN also, it means that the regulations is what they are talking about. And for regulations, we do not have any problem with regulations. Most of our people, our members, have duly even told us that even before they ship some of these things, especially from Europe, they go through some of these certification that ZAN is talking about.
Which ones? Which ones do they use? Let's be specific. Which of the certifications do they use? Let's find out whether they are at par with what the Energy Commission is requesting. He spoke, for example, about standards and labeling. What are the standards?
Exactly. Because that is the norm in some of these countries, that they even you have to go through the same processes, the standards, and all that. So when they are satisfied with that, then they should also know that when they come to Ghana and the Ghana Energy Commission want to confirm whether whatever you have gone through at your country of origin is true, then there's no issue. Nobody is fighting against that. And that Energy Commission is very right. And that we do not have to bring anything at all because we want to maximize our profit. And that standards are very important. But what we don't want to be confused about is the ban of electrical or electronic items. That is neither here nor there. Standards do not have boundaries. Standards is not confined to what is so-called new, and then neglect what they refer used item, whether it is used one day, whether it is even more quality than the so-called new one. And that's what our argument have been. So once that is established that there's no ban in these products, then of course, if Ghana Energy Commission is talking about standards, then our people do understand that they have to go through these regulations and standards and all that. So they should take the standards, read it, and then as they are already known to be doing, they do it. They tell their suppliers that this is what is required here, the labeling processes that we are talking about. I will always go for it because we will have to serve the good people of Ghana well. We do not have to serve them with rubbish. But we don't have to discriminate against used product against the new product. That is neither here nor there, because some of the so-called new products are rubbish. I've been in trading for years, and I know what I'm talking.
So just break it down for us. You say some of the new products. I mean, there are standards that guide the production of these products. Now, you say some of them are rubbish. Versus what? Some of the old products. I just want to be sure. Are you feeding into that theory that some old products are better than the new ones? Explain.
The consuming public will tell you when they have bought a blender and then they brand new blender from somewhere Asia or elsewhere, and they have used it only 1 week, and then the noise that is generated, and then buying the so-called used one, and then it was so smooth, and it did not consume his the scanty prepaid that he has bought. Then, of course, it will tell you the proper standard that you're talking about. That's why I'm saying that we have to use science to decipher what is to be allowed and what is not to be allowed. It's a
Doc, I'm losing you a bit. Can you hear me, Dr. Obeng? Can you hear me, Dr. Obeng? I think his feed may be frozen. We'll try to get him back. I wanted also for him to react to the bit about how this would create unemployment, because that is one of the crucial issues they have brought to the fore, part of why they are petitioning Parliament. But before we get Dr. Obeng back, let me bring in Hubert Zahn, who is with the Energy Commission. Hubert, so quite a number of allegations have been leveled against your outfit, starting with Samson Asaki Awengobit, Executive Secretary of the Importers and Exporters Association. He says you did not engage them. Point number one, which means already you've started on the wrong footing. He talks about the fact that you are overly focused on the ports instead of going down to the markets, among other things. What is your reaction?
Thank you very much. Just to rightly say that the Energy Commission, as an institution mandated by Parliament, is very focused and clear about what it does. Now, we have engagement, and you should know that any regulation that goes to Parliament has to indicate stakeholder engagement. We have engaged importers related to the appliances that we are regulating. And remember, these are specific appliances. It's not a generalized appliance. So what the Energy Commission has done is that we cannot know who an importer is. Today, you can be an importer. Tomorrow, I can be an importer. And so we have come up with enough public notices. We came up with enough engagement in terms of the importers. And it's a matter of agency. What exactly is the problem with the regulation? It seems that people have not read the regulation, and then they are jumping onto the issues. All what Samson Asaki was saying is what is in the regulation. And I would plead with him to get a copy of the law.
So what exactly was he saying that is reflected in the regulation? For the sake of education, let's highlight that.
Exactly. So for the sake of education, the regulation sets minimum energy performance for appliances coming into the country. Now, he knows very well that when it comes to the trading community and you are clearing goods at the port, it is the HS code that determines the product that you are about to clear. It is not about new or used. And so if I am bringing washing machine, for example, I have to declare the HS code for washing machine in the trade system, which is the ICOMS. The ICOMS will pick the regulator, which is Energy Commission. Energy Commission, per the law, requires that you provide a technical documentation, which is the scientific issue GUTA raised. And we have done exactly what GUTA asks us to do, to be scientific in our claim or our request for information. And so if you are bringing me an appliance, whether it is obsolete and you think it can meet the standards, provide us with the technical documentation for us to establish that. If you are bringing in brand new products and you think they are durable, provide us with the technical documentation as we have indicated. And please remember, we are working very closely with the Ghana Standards Authority and Customs on this. The Energy Commission believes in institutional collaboration, and we cannot do this alone. And so items will be referred to the Ghana Standards Authority, who are mandated to test these products. They test and provide us with the technical documentation, and that is where we will know whether your products meet the standards or not. However, you see, the discussion is on what the role of Energy Commission is in advising importers. We are a technical institution, and we say that the product you intend to bring, we will be able to tell you whether they meet the minimum performance standards or not. We should be able to tell you that. Now, how do you know that these products meet the standards or not? It is the report you will bring from the manufacturer that Energy Commission will put vis-a-vis the regulation and say, this product will not meet the standards. Remember that in Europe, as I mentioned, standards and labeling is an international best practice tool, which has been used worldwide. A lot of us are moving away from the old appliances to efficient ones. Now, if you move, it means the ratings have changed. So the only thing you can do to buttress your point is to bring information, which is technical documentation. And we want to put on record that GUTA requested for us to be scientific in coming up with this regulation. And that is exactly what we have done. You can hear the admission from Dr. Obeng that standards and labeling are best practice tools, and it's quite interesting. Dr. Obeng himself has tested his products and brought test reports to the Energy Commission for approval. And so why are his members not interested in doing the same? Because he knows the goods he's bringing are quality. So that is what we want to hold people responsible for. Now, in terms of market surveillance, the reason why these regulations went to Parliament.
So you're talking now about. I don't know whether you're delving into the bit about not going to the markets and focusing on the ports.
Exactly.
Right.
That the regulation has empowered the Energy Commission to be able to conduct what we call market surveillance.
Okay.
You know, we are not in a banana republic where somebody gets up at his own and goes into shops to go and, ransack them. You need to be guided by your process. And that is what the regulation has done.
Okay.
Mandated the Energy Commission, Customs, Ghana Standards Authority to be able to conduct market surveillance as well. Now, if I went into town, and we don't want to be discriminatory to say Nigerians are bringing in substandard products and all of that. We are a referee. It doesn't matter who is bringing the product. The product has to meet the minimum performance standards. If it doesn't meet the standards, then we will not allow it into the country. And I think we have gotten to a stage where importers should be responsible for the products they are bringing into the country. Ghanaians deserve better. As a matter of fact, consumers deserve better. And you are a consumer, I am a consumer. All of us are consumers. Why would we sit for somebody to look at the interest of how much he will be making in bringing substandard goods into the country at the expense of consumers who are sweating to pay? He gave an example of teachers and policemen and all of that not being able to pay in installment, but have to cough the money in cash. That is the things we are looking at. What are the incentives we can introduce? So I will plead with Ghanaians to get a copy of the regulation, to read it. And it looks like all suggestions, all consultancies coming in, seems that they haven't even read the regulation, because whatever they are proposing is what is in the regulation. So when you look at Regulation 1, it talks about the purpose of the regulation. Regulation 2 talks about the application of the regulation. And it says that products coming into the country must meet a certain minimum energy performance standards. And I would want to reiterate that Joy FM, Joy TV, your listenerships are very discerning. Ghanaians are very discerning. And let's not try to throw dust into people's eyes when we haven't read the documents. Ghanaians can read documentation and understand what the provisions are. We are advising all importers that before you bring an item or the regulated appliance into the country, you have to submit the technical documentation that shows that the product meets the minimum performance standards before it's allowed into the country. And I think that should be the level of discussion we should be having. It's about standards. It is not about generalizing it and saying we have banned appliances. No, the Energy Commission is very discerning in what it does. We say that your product has to meet the minimum performance standards. The law says that whatever you are bringing should meet the minimum performance standards, unless you know that the products you are bringing do not meet the standards. And that is why you'll be up in hills running on the streets. But if you trust the product you bring, I don't think this should be an issue. as Dr. Obing rightly mentioned, he himself has tested his products and brought his reports to the commission. And I expect his members to follow his leadership and act same and be held responsible for the products they bring into the country.
Hold for me, Hubert. Let me bring in Samson. Samson Asaki, are you still on the line? Are you still with us, Mr. Wingobit?
I'm so surprised that my brother Herbert and stuff.
So Hubert, but before you react, I just want to find out, have you read the regulations? Have you read them? Have you taken a look at them?
My brother, I've just told you, if you are not engaged, my institution was not engaged.
Mr. Awingobit, just confirm for me. We are moving away from the engagement, the bit about engagement. Have you taken a look at the regulations?
He gave them the document to go and read. I'm sure. He asked him, put him on the spot. I'm sure those that he engaged.
Hubert, so hold for me, Mr. Awingobit. Let's get to the bottom of this. Hubert, is that what happened? When you had this engagement with GUTA, among others, did you facilitate, did you give them the regulations to
or
peruse?
Did you do a presentation to them?
Or did you make a presentation to them?
You know, it sometimes hurts when a regulator is being demeaned. We are very discerning in what we do. Dr. Obing is a witness. A whole presentation was made, input was requested, and as I told you, GUTA was the one that suggested that when it comes to appliances, we need to be scientific in our claims. And so what was the scientific measures they wanted us to use? They said best practices is to come up with standards. And that is exactly what we have done. We have worked closely with the Ghana Standards Authority to adapt standards as GUTA requested. The standards have gone ahead to come up with regulations, and the regulations only tells you what your responsibility is, what your measures, what you need to do as an importer, what we need to do as a regulator, so that I don't just get up and go to people's shop just to ransack it, but I'm guided in my process. The regulation also tells you what the punitive measures will be if you go contrary to the regulations. And that is why I said that I urge people to get a copy of the regulation and read it. It has really been thought through. The regulation has gone through Parliament. It went through subsidiary legislative committee who are discerning enough to read into the regulation. They asked the necessary questions that needed to be asked, and all the answers were given. Now we have it as a law, and the law is saying we have set minimum energy performance standards for appliances that are coming into the country.
Okay.
And let's not misguide people about ban on used appliances and all of that. We have set minimum energy performance standards for products coming into the country. Once you are importer, whether new or used, you have to meet the minimum energy performance before your item is allowed into the country. And that is what the law simply seeks to do.
All right. Thank you for that clarity. Back to you, Samson. Is it clear enough? So yes, presentations were made.
You can see quite clearly that Herbert is doing everything possible to be silent on the question that you asked. Whether was he, when they were doing the engagement, which institutions did they engage? He said importers. Did he guys went to the market and bring every importer to Energy Commission? Or he engaged them through leadership? He said GUTA had an input. What was GUTA input, to be specific, into that? If GUTA really gave an input, I'm not sure GUTA will be the first person to go and do the petition. It should have even been my outfit, Importers and Exporters Association. We should have been the first person to go and petition Parliament, and not the same person who came to you, asked you to do bring standards and tell you what goes into the standards, and you brought it to Parliament, and became a bill, became a law at implementation level. Then the person come back and tell you, no, I won't agree, and I'm asking Parliament to intervene. So you can see the double standard in my brother's statement. He's my very good brother, Herbert. I'm sure you know me and I know you. Are you aware of Importers and Exporters Association in Ghana has playing a very pivotal role in this country so far as trade is concerned? Did your office wrote to my office and we ignored or we refused to attend? Did you send even the regulations, even if you could not get us to engage, my office to engage, did you send the regulations to my office, Mr. Saki? Can you please read this and give us your feedback or your comments? When you had it as a law, did you engage people prior to implementation? If yes, did you engage my outfit? No. So that's the question we're asking. And I put to you, Herbert, you are running away. I said, what about the border levels? People also bring in items, same electrical items, through our borders, which you and I know our borders are very porous. I said you are concentrated is always in the port. True, because anybody who comes through the port would definitely bring you laboratory analysis documents, certificates of standardization and everything. I think my Mr. Presenter, I think I made mention of this when you invited me in my first comment. Am I right? So you did not. You have completely refused, or it's a disrespect to my office. If that is what the Energy Commission has done, then I take it it's a disrespect that Energy Commission thinks that if they engage GUTA, then that is all. Disengage everyone in the country. I can tell you, each institution is legally registered, is highly respected. When it comes to trade issues, don't underestimate my outfit. And I can tell you that my outfit was not informed. In fact, if GUTA had even asked me, I would have told them that they shouldn't have gone to Parliament. They should have gone to the ministries of the ministry in which Energy Commission is under. Because Energy Commission is just an implementing agency.
Are you referring to the Energy Ministry?
I think the Energy Commission should be under Minister of Energy or Minister of Science and Environment. I don't know where the...
Hubert, just hold for me, Samson. Hubert, under which institution do you fall? I assumed it was the Ministry of Energy.
Yes, rightly so. So we are under the Ministry of Energy.
All right.
And Bernard, you know, the point again is
I'll come back to you for a response.
Let's not deviate from the discussion.
Hubert, I'll come back to you for a response. I just wanted that clarification. Go ahead, Samson.
Yes, and Finance Authority is under Ministry of Trade. So I can tell you that we are not fighting them. It's an agency. But I would advise that they go to Energy Ministry to say, look, there are people are saying they engage us. If I'm talking about GUTA, there are people say they engage us. But we do not point this, we do not accept A or B or C.
Right.
We've seen that they smuggled A, B, C into. Prior to our engagement, this wasn't there, this wasn't there. And I can tell you, I always want to tell my people, if you go to engage this energy, this government institutions, when they are doing presentations, they will not show you the nitty-gritty of it. They will just show the surface. We should ask for the whole presentation. Tell them, give us time, a month or weeks. We go and look at it. When we don't have the technical capacity to understand some of these explanatory or interpretations, we look for experts in those fields to come and help us look at it and advise before we go back and say, look, this is our comment. After sending your document, we think you do A, B, C, D. If you call GUTA to your office and get to 1 day presentation, maybe 1 hour or 2 hours, it's not even up to 2 hours presentation or discussion, and you leave the left and you go and write a whole thing and you bring it so you're implementing, they will throw it away. They will hit you back. And that's what we are seeing.
I get that point on... I get that point, Samson, on engagement. I'll be going back to Dr. Obeng, but I just want to find out from you. You have not read the document. You have not gone through the regulations. And that, I believe, is the bone of contention, because if you had, maybe some of the issues you're bringing up, you will not be bringing up because, as Hubert mentioned, they are already encapsulated in those registration documents, in the very legislation that we're speaking of. So you're requesting basically about a month to go through all of this before, if there will be any go ahead with the implementation, it is brought to bear. Is that what you're saying?
My brother, if I made it clear that my article was not consulted, I was not engaged, no presentation has been done to me and my team, I have no access to the document. Until we are engaged, we request for the document to read. Besides that, I think I spoke...
Clarify, what did you just say? Until you are engaged...
I spoke to you like I read the document. Because
right.
I told you what the Energy Commission expects from an importer who is bringing product to the port. And I told you the only people who are at the port. But largely, it's happening from the border level. What are they doing as Energy Commission? I asked this question. The gentleman could not address. He admits that yes, they are working in partnership with Standards Authority. Standards Authority was also that largely they perform their duties at the port. It's at the port. So if you really want to deal with the issues, what are they doing specific? What are they doing about the port, about the border levels? And that's where things are coming through.
All right.
And I asked him, I pushed the question, you didn't push him. Is he saying all used items are completely baller? Is that how he understands as used items?
I believe when I go to him for his final comments, as I wrap up the conversation, he would react to that. But let me come to Dr. Obeng. Doc, are you back with us?
Yes, I'm here.
Right. You were making some, I was asking you about the used second-hand dealers and whether you stick to the bit about the fact that this new legislation will create unemployment, as you had put out there, and whether you'd continue with your engagement with Parliament. Briefly on that, and I'll take your final words, gentlemen.
Okay. Hello?
I can hear you now. Go ahead. Oh, Dr. Obeng, it appears this connection.
Really conform best practices in the world when it comes to standards are already coming to these standards as is being requested by Energy Commission. So we do not have any problem with that. What we have problem is outright ban on that. It will not have their dependency on that area. We are talking about 200,000 people being employed in that sector. And what they bring also serve the generality of Ghanaians. If you want, let's go and ask questions in the public. People, it will surprise you to know that the greater majority of Ghanaians want this used products more than the new ones. And so once it is established here, now I'm convinced that these used products are not banned and that we are only talking about standards. We will educate and we will also seek a meeting with Energy Commission so that we take our time to explain these standards to our members so that before they bring their goods, they know what they have to do. And it is very important. What I want to say again is that...
Okay, so Dr. Obeng, just hold your horses for me. Gentlemen, I apologize, but just hold for me for just a few more minutes. Let me bring in my colleague, Bernice Abubeidu-Lanza. She's interacting with some people in La Paz, some traders, on the back of this very matter in La Paz. Bernice, if you can hear me, over to you. What's happening on the streets of La Paz?
This is the enclave, largely in Accra, where you will find used electrical appliances imported into the country. But since the first ban on the importation of used fridges was announced sometime in 2013, you see that some of the sellers try to mix and merge with unused fridges. But largely, when it comes to kettles, microwaves, washing machines, and others, you will find that the used or the unused products are imported more. There's a gentleman here who would like to share his thoughts with me. He's called... Yes, he's called Mr. Jenim Boateng. Pardon my Mr. earlier. And he has concerns about this directive by the Energy Commission. Into also how partners and what are your concerns?
My concern is fridge na wo twemu no hame because emro na eba no emro na eba no out 600 ni so motor no compressor no use one no so e wa ha na out 600 ma kire TV reporters abeg kra omo won hu say out 600 so the difference in anything a wo mu twa use one no say see Ghana ha nipa say energy pay be 20 million a month. Okoto tabletop new one crowd 22 million. High end. The Energy Commission on your lobby a boy and say I'll say send an famra, ye phenomena, and now 134 and the famra near the Nwaba near ye out 12 and out 12 grand and maybe you.
R600 near capacity of the motor, no?
Yes.
All right, so Mr. Janin Boateng is basically saying that when he checks the capacity of the motors of the used fridges, they are similar to the ones of the unused fridges, and so he thinks that the Energy Commission should be more specific, especially when it comes to used fridges, and lift the ban entirely. But Sisiano, any fridges and or microwaves, water heaters near the no, their new laws are a guide. No, my example say be out they buy say kita manual ayatron or bro. For me must have an English written manual. Send will be to can you use appliance effectively, and say beyond a certain number of years so that the energy draining capacity low. Energy Commission see when in a because says our appliances where the be bar. I told they be a draining demand so much that we need to produce more to meet the demand. When we do that, we are balancing and pese Ghana so be say yes, a dumping site for substandard used or even new products.
Mama, so because I have a dumping site for that use items na me into because Ghana has iron rods that the metals and they can take it to the steelworks. No more the iron rods are mine. Yes, car be the best 20 years. And Ghana the back way bit to China the acquire iron rods. Yeah, import steel no and some farmer has it. And the some one can MY 2. Other normal privatizing electricity. In UK, Matna UK da. UK near electricity companies about 3. And me come Mr. A Hona Mempa, me come Mr. B ho. I have to acquire monopoly nipa bakope and to win your baby uncle. And the abandon so and trust in no one privatizing electricity companies. No, I'm not wanting me maybe.
But does that lead to efficiency? The fact say you can actually use or consume less, but because you want to make the system open up the system and reduce the monopoly or take off the monopoly, you allow wastage.
There be any wastage. Abandon on Tiasi and here for my wisdom. Ubiti krase sebe wadoko ko kra chocolate we ni bida abana wadi chocolate ko ho on fa bin ko ho enti obesity man we mo niska use item no beto. In UK there's a used stores, charity stores. In America I live in Virginia, Salvation Army big store to crowd beira, and there's another 3 stores oko ha bibia ho one more ye nema no kra one say we use stores.
Apart from fridges, the Energy Commission and cars and Mamunfa used Niamambao. Just that they want to regulate standards. No?
The standard is I'll say when they see new one.
So main concern the fridges. No?
Fridges.
Okay. Okay.
I'll say when they see new one. So I'll say when they see used one. So what I mean, can say mature will be I'll say. So what's the difference?
So Mr. Janin Boateng, he's largely concerned about the fridges because he's an importer of fridges, but he's basically been saying that there are poor people in this country who cannot afford to enter a shop to buy a new fridge, and so they would just have to get a used fridge. He also cites examples of his personal experience in the UK and the US where there are charity stores. He says he lives in Virginia where there's a Salvation Army store. There's 3 stores where people can go in and buy used products. I just pointed out to him that when it comes to the other electrical appliances like water heaters and the others, the Energy Commission is not saying they shouldn't be imported at all. There are regulations or standards that must be met. He thinks that it's neither here nor there, and that people must be allowed to purchase used items. Yeah, that's the only Yakasa. So Mr. Janin Boateng has been sharing his thought with us. But like I said, Benjamin, when you come to this enclave, you would see a lot of used fridges, a lot of used electrical appliances. I've been trying to get more from the importers and sellers here, but they say that they would rather their leadership speak, and so we'll try and make an arrangement and get the leaders to speak. But this is all because the Energy Commission is implementing its national energy efficiency campaign, and we know that later this year in November 2023 we will see a full enforcement of the airlines that regulates the use of some appliances. I've mentioned some of them to you, i.e. water heaters. We have microwave ovens, kettles, and the likes. And so we definitely will come back here and get and sample a few more views from those who are directly involved with the importation and selling of these items. But basically the concern here is that the wish that the Energy Commission will do more. And also, Benjamin, I must mention that some of the people who spoke to me off camera don't seem to appreciate the issues clearly. So I had to take my time to explain to them exactly what the Energy Commission was doing. And so they're also demanding a breakdown of the issues. They say that, okay, if IE is what the Energy Commission is saying, then they need to understand further. And so they would wish for further engagement. So this has been the little I've been able to gather here this morning from La Paz, Nyameche, where it's, literally a hub for used appliances here in Accra.
Bernice Abubeidu Lanza from the streets of La Paz and Nyameche, bringing us those views. And interesting indeed, because the fact is that there is quite a bit of misunderstanding. I'll just say this, Hubert, I'll come to you shortly. But as you deliver your final comments, I would like you to address how you're going to deal with this information flow problem, because obviously there is some misunderstanding on the streets. And it may also stem from that missing link in terms of communication with some of the groups, like Samson Asake Awingobit has mentioned. But I'll come back to you, Doc, for your final comments as we wrap on this conversation.
Hello?
Yes, Dr. Obeng, I can hear you loud and clear.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
So what you see from the interview, my people know the standard and they already conform. So all that we have to do is to engage the Energy Commission to also engage them on the standard that they've brought, and that my people are not doing anything untoward, and that their major intention is to serve their customers. Now the final consumer is also wising up, and he can know what he wants. And so we are very grateful. But what I would say is that broader stakeholder engagement is very important, like Mr. Asaki was saying, and that in future we have to extend the. If you think about input.
It appears we're having many challenges. Dr. Obeng, my apologies to you if you can hear me, but there are many challenges with your connection. We'll have to sew it up from here. Hubert, so you've heard, I posed some questions to you earlier. What is your reaction and how are you going to bridge the gap, the information flow gap, to ensure compliance, because the law is here with us?
Right, so thank you very much. And as I earlier indicated, it is obvious that a lot of people have not read the regulation. We are also Ghanaians and we think about the livelihood of people. However, we have said clearly that every Ghanaian is also a consumer and must get value for money in terms of the products coming into the market. What the Energy Commission is doing is to regulate the space of appliances, electrical appliances, whether used or new. We are saying that minimum energy efficiency standards have been set. If you are bringing in new products which do not meet the minimum performance standards, it will not be allowed into the country. If you are bringing in used products which do not meet the standards, obviously will not be allowed into the country. If you can prove that your used appliances will meet the standards, then it is what it is. And you know, it is important to always give this analogy that it's like an examination has been set for level 400 students. Somebody is in GSS 3 in the case of used obsolete appliances. He says he will be able to write the exams for level 400 and pass. The Energy Commission is a lecturer. It is not in our position to say that we will not allow this student write the exams. For all you know, he's a bright student. So we will give you the opportunity to write the exams and then pass and show us your certificate. However, we know you would have challenges. And the challenges are that you haven't completed level GSS 3 syllables, you haven't even completed the SS syllables, yet you want to write a level 400 exams, which is the standards and labeling, the regulation. So the regulations that Energy Commission or Ghana has adapted are the same international standard that goes into Europe. And we are saying that Africa also deserves better in terms of the quality. Everyone talking here is saying similar things, that we want products that are worth our monies. And I think the regulator is doing its part. It is always important that when institutions take initiatives to do some of these things, I think it's in order for us to appreciate some of these things. The major thing is about awareness creation. And that is why we have come onto your noble platform. We hope to create more awareness on the content of the regulation, which says minimum energy performance standards. And I was glad your reporter showed what is happening in La Paz. I hope you have seen the gradual shift of people now moving to appliances that are labeled. Hitherto, that's not what we had. So it tells you that these importers are also willing to conform. So for those who are not willing to conform, I don't think they should be the chunk of the discussions. The law is very clear. For those who want to conform to the regulation, bring us the technical documentation, and then we will approve it before you bring the products. For those who don't want to do that, unfortunately, your products cannot enter into the Ghanaian market. And just to clarify the R600 issue they spoke about, the R600 is the refrigerant that is contained in the refrigerator.
Right.
Now, this is regulated by the EPA. The refrigerant also has an effect on the efficiency of the product. So you will bear with me that if you bought an appliance which was brand new, efficient, it met the minimum performance standards, and you have used it over a certain period, definitely you would lose the efficiency. Now, even if it loses the efficiency and you can provide a test report that it meets the minimum performance standards, then you are allowed to bring the product in. And that is as simple as that. However, if the product does not meet the minimum performance standards, Benjamin, I don't think it will be fair to this country. Just because somebody wants to make a selfish interest of making profit, we are allowing substandard goods. And you remember Asaki in his submission made reference to items coming from the border and saying they were substandard. How do we establish that? It is the regulation that is going to allow us to establish all of these claims by taking the samples to Ghana Standards Authority, conducting a verification test, and then we can be very professional in our activities. It is not about tagging people and saying Nigerians are bringing substandard goods and all of. No, it's not fair as a regulator to do that.
Right. I made mention of Nigerian. I made mention of this fact as well to cap off.
Should meet the minimum performance standards.
Right. To cap off the conversation. So, in terms of the information flow, in terms of ensuring that there is compliance, how are you going to go about it now?
Right. So, in the wisdom of Parliament, a transitional provision was made in the regulation. And, we also hear this argument that you have brought a law and you want to enforce. I mean, it's very clear they haven't read the regulation. There is a transitional provision in there of 1 year, which is supposed to allow the Energy Commission, the Customs, the Standards Authority, and the police be able to conduct awareness creation, because we know that people's goods are on the high seas. People have their items at the port ready to be cleared. They have to be able to clear these items and be aware of what the requirement is. The doors of the Energy Commission is always open to Ghanaians. I mentioned that our role is to play the role of a referee between the importer and the manufacturer. So if you are an importer, before you bring the product into the country, it is important to come to the regulator and say, this is what I intend to bring into the country. I want to know whether these products will meet the standards or not. And the Energy Commission would gladly advise you and tell you that these products will meet it or will not meet it. If they do not meet it, we don't expect you to invest your capital in those products to bring them into the country.
Right.
And once you bring them into the country, it is our mandate to protect the consumer from those bringing these substandard goods. Another submission I want to make is that the ban on used appliances or used refrigerators was passed way back in 2008, Benjamin. And we should be fair to this country. Again, a lot of people are not reading what the regulation is saying. It is not a law that is coming in today. It's been there since 2008. We gave a full transition up to 2013.
Right.
For businessmen to roll up. So the discussion didn't just start today.
Right.
It started as way back as 2008.
And I suppose the discussion will continue. We can't have the entire discussion here, but the discussion will continue. Hubert, and just it's good catching up with you as well. You remind me of our days at the Spanish department of the University of Ghana. We were there together. Hubert, really good to have seen you again. And continue with the good work. Hubert Nsozan is Assistant Manager, Energy Efficiency Regulation at the Energy Commission of Ghana. We also had joining the conversation Dr. Joseph Obeng, GUTA President, together with the Executive Secretary of the Importers and Exporters Association of Ghana. I'm talking about Samson Asaki Awingobit, who wasn't very impressed with some of the answers that Hubert was giving. But I am hoping that, jaw-jawing will be able to bring all of us on the same page within the transitional period of 1 year. Now, stay with us. When we return on the AM show, we talk education. We know funding is crucial for educating oneself, especially in our part of the world. But the question is, when it comes to the GET Fund, for example, are we doing the right things? Are the institutions involved doing the right things? Do we need to uncap the funding, or maybe even accessibility to the GET Fund? We'll be discussing that with the president of NUCS, Dennis Labi Ampofo, who joins us shortly for a conversation. You don't want to miss it. We'll be right back.